Everybody, welcome. It's Katrina Sawa here, the Jumpstart Your Biz Coach with jumpstartyourmarketing.com and this Jumpstart Your Marketing and Business group on Facebook. So I'm so excited to bring in one of my clients and friends, Barbara Ingrassia. Hi, say hi, Barbara.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming on a Friday.
I know, right? It's Friday, but this is a good thing to do on Friday, I think. And I think a lot of people that don't want to be working, maybe hopefully will be clicking on and watching us today. Because today we're talking everything legal, everything that we know at least about legal. And there's a disclaimer here that neither one of us are lawyers, just so you know. But Barbara knows a lot more about it than I do. I have some knowledge on trademarks and some different things to do legally in your business. We want to hear your questions. This is the stuff that a lot of people don't want to necessarily talk about. You want to hide your head in the sand about sometimes, but don't do that. I've been sued before by people because I infringed on their copyright. So we're going to talk a lot about copyright today because that's Barbara's specialty. She is with copyright or managecopyright.com, and you get a whole bunch of information there. I can't wait to dive in. I want to have her talk about a little bit about why she got into this, and then why it's important to know this stuff, okay, for your business and your personal use, frankly, because you could be breaking the law. And then what you need to know specifically, and then how to get more information from Barbara and or other places. So, and we'll interject some trademark stuff as well as we go and some other things that we know we need. But you don't want to miss this. Please stick around or watch the replay if you're catching it on the replay. So, all right, Barbara. So they know a little bit about me. I've been in business for 16 years. I did have a trademark on Jumpstart Your Marketing. I've been copywriting my content as much as I knew how to do since day one, but you don't know what you don't know. And I've actually been sued once for 2 different images that I put on my website before, and I could not get out of it even with an attorney. I had to pay $2,000, $1,000 per image, even though I took it off immediately as soon as I got the cease and desist. So it's not only stuff you need to know to not land yourself in court or get sued, but it's stuff you need to know to protect your content too. So that's just my 2 cents on the topic real quick. And Barbara has so much to share, you guys. So, and she's going to try to make it fun. So no pressure. Where's your hat? She has all these little fun gimmicks to make copyright a little bit more exciting than maybe we like to think it is. So, all right, girl.
I consider copyright to be a gray murky ooze. You know,
the gray murky ooze.
It's shifting and changing all the time. And the easiest answer to a copyright question, the safest one, is it depends. So, having said that, let's see what we can get into. I come from an academic library background. And as print began to evolve into electronic, then I began negotiating licenses because electronic resources are licensed or rented or leased. And then that rolled over into copyright. And so I have a passion for raising awareness about that. And yes, bringing some fun to a potentially dull but very important topic.
Awesome. And so, like, why copyright? I mean, there's so many things you could do from an academic standpoint. Why that? And what do you want other business owners and even individuals to know why it's so important to pay attention to this?
Right. Well, copyright, and we're talking about the C in the circle here, copyright law, is the right to make a copy. And we have had copyright law in this country since the start of the country. And its purpose is to help people, to encourage people, to incentivize people to create. We needed a new culture when we left England. And so an incentive for scientific and literary works was to give someone a limited time monopoly. And so copyright then is trying to balance that, the needs of the public and the needs of the creator to make some money from their creation. So it is always this balancing act. Now, of course, in the digital age, it's so easy to make a copy. Gone are the days when you had to, find a photocopier to do it. Now you can scan or copy and paste and various things. And so it's very easy to grab content.
Or right click. Or you can just right click, copy, paste somewhere. It's way too easy. You're right. So
without thinking about that, maybe that belongs to somebody. And so it seems like it's floating out there in the internet, in cyberspace, and the person wouldn't put it on the internet if they didn't want me to use it, right? And so I can pull it down, and I can right click and copy and paste, so it must be okay. Well, in fact, work on the internet is copyrighted, just like it would be in audio or video or print.
Right.
So knowing something about copyright, some basics, can be a risk management tool that you can use both in business and in your personal life.
Sometimes people think of copyright as the little note that you put on the bottom of your website or your marketing materials with a little copyright 2018, and then we're done, right? Isn't that protect our stuff from people stealing it?
Well, the interesting thing about that, Kat, is that is no longer required.
What?
Since we joined an international convention called the Berne Convention in 1989, one of the deals was that we could no longer require a copyright notice and could not require that someone apply to the U.S. Copyright Office in order to get a copyright. So now, the moment something, a literary work, artistic work, a photograph, even sculpture, the minute it's fixed in a tangible medium, it's automatically copyrighted.
Wow.
But if it was pounded into us over the years to be watching for that C in a circle and we don't see it, we say, oh, okay, it must be okay to use this. So my best advice in general is always to assume something is protected by copyright until you can determine otherwise. And there are exceptions, but it's always best to assume going in. I do highly recommend that when you're creating content, any kind of content, that you put that C in a circle with a year and the copyright owner, that might be you or your company, and all rights reserved. That puts people on notice. Now there are people who will find a way to grab it anyway.
Right.
Another step is to actually register with the U.S. Copyright Office. Again, you don't have to, but it's not expensive. It can be done online. And what it does is provides you a public record. And, as long as you follow some timing, should you have to take someone to court, and hopefully not, you can receive expanded financial damages. So that can make it worthwhile.
So a couple things you just said. So the copyright symbol isn't necessarily required anymore to know that it's copyrighted. So that, in a way, so if you forget to put it in your marketing materials, it's okay, but you should still put it in your marketing materials in your marketing. That also means that be careful taking other people's content, right? So sometimes people think that if they want to use an article or an image from somewhere else on the internet, that they can just give credit back to that website by linking to them, or photo from this website, or article taken from this website. Is that legal? Do you know? Is that, or do you have to check depending on the site?
Well, providing a credit and a link back is always important, but it's not necessarily permission to use. Right. So you have to keep that in mind. A better alternative is to link to a resource. A URL doesn't make a copy. It's an address. It's a fact. So then you might put a few little comments why you should look at this article or why this is important. And then the user, the person on the other side, is the one who clicks on the link and opens the resource. And then it's their responsibility to use it legally.
So technically it's okay if we just put a little snippet, like, I love this article, it's all about blankety blank, in our email or in our post on social media or on our web page, and then just link it over to the article. But
yes.
The problem though was the picture. That's why I got stuck, right? Is because I went looking for a picture that went with a blog article that I wrote. So I wrote the blog article and I thought, okay, I need a picture that, you know, exemplifies this article. Let me go find one. So nowadays, though, there's so many other photo sites you can go to. But back then I didn't know. And even new entrepreneurs today, I find, don't know this is bad to do.
Right. And you get all excited because you find just the right photo. You do an internet search, a Google search, you get all kinds of results. You say, oh, I like that one, boom. Well, there are licensing terms attached to those. And it's possible to limit what you get as results in a Google image search or a Flickr search, or you can use something called Creative Commons to find various kinds of formats of things that have been licensed. Creative Commons is not very old, 10, 20 years old. And it serves to fill that gap between all rights reserved, don't touch it, I'm going to slap you, to public domain. It's no longer under copyright. The copyright has expired or it wasn't eligible for copyright. And so in between, we have ranges in Creative Commons. We have, you just need to give me attribution. You can cut it up, you can rearrange it, whatever you want to do. You have to give me attribution, but no derivatives. So don't cut it up. You can use it, but as is. You have to give me permission. No commercial use. You have to give me permission. You can combine some of these. No commercial use, but share alike. You can't put a stronger copyright on something. So it's very helpful.
Let me ask you, what classifies as commercial use? I mean, if it's on Facebook, it goes out to billions of people. Is that commercial use? Or is it, if it goes on my website, it's commercial use? Or
yes, and that's very ticklish because you're right. Anytime something's on a website, theoretically, it's there for commercial use. Mm-hmm. With copyright, it doesn't matter if you're making money or not. That doesn't absolve you. But giving some thought about whether you're using it for marketing purposes and that kind of thing is something to consider. The difference between personal use only and commercial use there can be a fine line there. So if in doubt, it's good to find something that you feel comfortable using, or you certainly can seek permission from the copyright owner.
Okay, so we're talking about two kinds of sides of the copyright conversation, right? We're talking about protecting our own stuff, and because I know that I do a Google alert, right? I have a Google alert set on my name, on a couple of one of my trademarks, and a couple other things. And so anytime someone publishes something with that phrase or name in it or any combination of it, I get an email that tells me where it was published on the internet. And which is great to do, by the way. You should always Google alert your name, your book titles, your program names, your website URL, things like that. So that you can see who's talking about you, because sometimes people do republish your content. And a few times I've found people who either bought or found my programs, my actual paid programs, or sometimes the free ebook stuff, right? and maybe they opted in to get it and then just took the ebook and then put it up on their website for free content so they could get opt-ins. And I see that over and over and over on these random websites where you can't even find who's in charge of the website. It's just bizarre to me why they do this. I don't know. They must have advertising on the side or something to make money.
But your feelings when you discover that. How do you feel when you discover that?
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying that people have my stuff and they're getting it out there. Now, but in the beginning, I was very mad because I was like, how can they get this? And I was like, how dare they? And then it makes you want to protect your stuff even more by passwords and all this stuff. But my clients sometimes worry about, well, how are people going to not share my PDF or my whatever audio? And I'm like, nowadays, I'm like, whatever. They obviously need it more than I do. And, especially when it's content that's created and it's not my time, the more people get out there, the better, I find. So not that I want everybody to get it for free, but I don't stress about it anymore. And I can't live my life stressed about who's going to get it that didn't pay for it. So.
Right. And yes, we may not think about that we have a gold mine. But we all have a gold mine. We have our newsletters, we have our website, we have our blog posts, we have our marketing materials, our blogs, our videos, our audio. Those are all, when they're original creative content, those are our gold mine. And I like to help people avoid having to take the legal approach. As you're right, that people who want to take it are going to find a way to take it, but putting them on notice, makes anything that they do an intentional infringement. They can't say, "Oh, gee, I didn't realize."
And at what point do you actually try to sue them or take legal action? I mean, you can just say, "Hey, take it down, buddy." And if they don't, then you can get your attorney involved, I guess, at that point. But should you take action?
You might send them a nice email to sort of inform/educate that this was your content and to please take it down. And you might give them a deadline.
Sometimes I actually find that, like, hey, especially with my trademark, Jumpstart Your Marketing, I would say, hey, I saw that you named your event or you wrote a blog post about Jumpstart Your Marketing, but that's my trademark. So you could either take it down or you could link to my website from it. And I'm good with that. They usually would take it down or change it. They didn't want to link to my website if they're writing about what I write about.
Right, exactly. Asking them to link, asking them to share the profits.
Sure.
And putting a deadline on that, then you can take another step, contacting whoever's the host of their site, whoever's hosting their website, and they will take it down. That you can contact any of the social media, but let's talk YouTube. There's that DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Yeah. And most sites, hosting sites, will have a section you can go to. They'll say, we respect copyright. If you think something that we have on our site violates your copyright, file a DMCA. Here's the form, and it's very easy to do.
Right. I've gotten a few of those notices on YouTube, but I always win because it's always my stuff. So,
right.
Question though, it's something I do run across every once in a while when entrepreneurs get caught with, say, an image that they're not supposed to be using on their website. They assume that their web designer should know better. And a lot of times their web designer is the one in charge of finding the photos, or they let their web designer be the one in charge of finding the photos for their website. And some web designers don't subscribe to the reality check of having to check on copyright or buying photos. They try to do it more inexpensively. So what should they do with that?
Well, that's why it's good to have some basic knowledge of copyright. And I do have a story that goes with that. Mm-hmm. I worked with a printer whose number one client came rushing in with some wonderful postcards for marketing. and they had superheroes on them. The printer said, "Nah, I can't print those." And the client said, "Why? Why not?" And he says, "Well, let me check with my copyright person." And so he checked with me, and I gave him all the reasons why he shouldn't print. And the client said, "Oh, well, my graphic designer said it was okay." So they asked the graphic designer, and he said, "Oh, well, I changed them 25%, so it's okay." Well, there are no percentages or number of lines or any of that in the copyright law. The client said, "Oh, well, I'll sign a waiver. You won't get in trouble. You won't get in trouble." And the printer said, "No." Well, the client stomped out, boom, 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 boom. And that was kind of serious because he was a big client. Well, 2 weeks later, he circled back. No one else would print them either. So the whole thing, that was the quarterly marketing campaign. The whole thing had to be scratched. It had to start over at more time, more expense. So knowing a little bit about being able to know what to ask. If the web designer has used images, ask them where they got them. You should receive the license. If they licensed it from a stock photo company, you should have that license for your files.
Right. Don't just leave it in the hands of the web designer to hold the license, because what happens if they go out of business or you can't reach them, and then you're the one that gets sued and you try to get proof and you don't have it because they didn't save it or whatnot. Yeah.
Right. And frankly, anybody can say that they're a web designer.
Yeah.
Many people design their own site or whatever. They're of the age that they do that kind of stuff. So just because they say they're a web designer doesn't mean that they know all of the realities behind
right.
it.
So let's talk about memes on social media. Memes are like the little picture that I use to promote our live today, for example, with her picture and my picture, and it had a little header on it, our names, and I just created that myself. So obviously I don't have a problem using that. And you gave me the picture, but that's right. In case people don't know what a meme is. A meme is something, either an image that you create with graphics, or it's a picture that you got somewhere and you put words on top of it. And so there's so many memes flying around, so many images with words and quotes and things flying around social media. Now, luckily, Facebook gives us that. When you do a post, it gives us those color backgrounds sometimes. And so that helps create those memes for free. And you can have your post stand out a little bit more with just a little bit of text. But talk about memes and the best way to create them so you don't get in trouble.
Well, you're right. I have seen some memes, and I've even seen meme creator programs that I would be very surprised, if they use a celebrity's photo. Mm-hmm. That celebrity may or may not want to be represented by whatever words you put on it. And there can be the implication that they are endorsing you or your product. So there's some rights to privacy that I would be aware of. And I do see that with some memes and some GIFs that I would be a little uncomfortable about.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't put them in a good light. So one of the sites that I love is Canva. And Canva is basically free. There's always an image I can find for free. Rarely do I pay for an image on Canva. And it's a great, fast way to create little memes. I don't know who created that website, but they're brilliant because they give you all kinds of options for backgrounds and images and text. And you can upload your own images and make memes with it. And pretty much most of it's free. So I'll put the link in the comments, but there's not too many other sites like that I find. Now, if you're not very creative with the graphics, you might have a little trouble, but you could delegate that to an assistant. Any other places that you like to suggest, either for creating them or buying images and things like that? What are your favorites?
Well, certainly, as you pointed out, there are more and more sites with free images, and we're talking about public domain images. So places like Pixabay and Unsplash, and there are some on Flickr, there are some in Google Images. It's just a matter of looking for license information. Are there, does it say free to use? This has been donated to the public domain, or does it say some rights reserved? So those are things to investigate. But Pixabay and some of the others say that all of their works are public domain, free to use. Sometimes you'll see something that says royalty free, and that doesn't necessarily mean absolutely free to use. And you find that out when you click, and suddenly the little, oh, here comes the payment screen. You find out that you don't have to pay royalties to the photographer or whoever. Those have been taken care of, but that you do have to pay to use the image. So it's always good to be very careful of the word free. And does the site look legitimate? There are some that just there's just stuff and there isn't anything there. One thing you can do is always scroll down to the bottom of the screen and look for the terms of use or the terms of and conditions of use, and that will spell out what you're allowed to do. And that is always also a good place for you to protect your gold mine by having the language there in the terms of use that this is your property, and the conditions under which they're allowed to use it, that they can do this, they can't do that. And oftentimes, just by using a site, we have agreed to those terms of use. More and more now, we're seeing little places that say, check here, I have read and agree to the terms of use. We're seeing more and more of those. And it won't let you go any further until you check that.
Right.
We hate to go through all of that reading, but we are bound by that. And so while that's not copyright law, it's contract law. And that can be a helpful protection as well.
So important. So I know I want to make sure people hear why they should dive into this a little deeper with you, but a couple comments about maybe some trademark stuff or some other legal stuff that you might know. I know, like I said, I had a trademark and I relied on my attorney to put it through, and I paid an attorney to do it years ago. And apparently they only last for 10 years and then you have to renew them. And the renewal went to my attorney's office and her email, but she was no longer in business. So I did not get the renewal email and notice, and I lost my trademark, which, I mean, I tried to get it back, actually, and I didn't fight very hard to get it back, frankly, because I haven't necessarily seen that it was a big deal. But I don't know, there's a lot of talk about trademark lately, and people think that's trademark from day one. I don't necessarily recommend that you trademark from the first day of your business because your business is going to evolve. So make sure whatever you do end up trademarking, it's actually a brand or a phrase you're going to stick with for a while. Because I have such a long history with Jumpstart Your Marketing, no one is going to be able to get it anyways. So as a trademark. So I'm not really too concerned. I guess my question is, what are your thoughts about trademarking, and what do you know about trademarking?
Well, trademarking is different from copyright. Trademark is meant to protect your brand, let's say to protect your reputation from someone else using it. Trademark is based on use, and you don't have to register it, but if somebody else comes along and wants to use that, you'll have to prove that you've been using it in interstate commerce for a period of time. So it's always good to be able to show that. You have to register with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Service.
Right.
There's some paperwork involved. There's some money involved. In the meantime, though, when you start to use something as a trademark, if it's a service that you're providing, you can put a little SM after it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using it on a product, you can put a little TM after it. Now, those don't offer the protection that a U.S. red R in a circle
Right.
would, but it does serve a notice that you're using it.
And what I know about that, like the TM and the SM, is what you put in by your phrase. Like I would do Jumpstart Your Marketing TM while I'm in the process of getting my trademark, because it takes like about 6 months sometimes to actually get your trademark and see if you can even get it. You may not even know if you can get it for 3 months.
Right.
So,
and you can do you can search their database, you can do internet searches and whatnot, and you may still not find it, or you might not think something is so close that the officials at the USPTO might think. And if nobody else tries to use it, or nobody else confuses things, it's no big deal. Now, let's think about Dove soap and Dove candy. They both the trademark Dove. I mean, they have their own little designs, but they're the same word. But they are not in the same industry. Soap versus candy, so that there isn't a conflict. It's not going to confuse the consumer.
Yeah. And so Sonia has a question, actually. She's on the Facebook Live, and she was wanting to know about trademarks. I think she's in the process of thinking about doing one. And do you have to submit an application for each phrase? And yeah, you do. You have to pay for each one. Now you can go, the first time I did it, it cost me about $1,500 because I went through an attorney. But then the second time, which is when I did not get it back, mind you, you might want to get some help with this to make sure you get what you want, is when I just went to the website and I paid like $300 or whatever it was. And so you could go and apply for $300, but if you don't know how to do a complete search like that, and because my attorney did a thorough search and she got me the phrase that I wanted, even though somebody else had one similar, I still got it. So if you really want something, I would advise to get some help with that from an attorney, frankly.
And I have heard trademark attorneys say that they will do the deep searches, which of course cost time and money, but they can't guarantee that they have. They can't guarantee that it's unique and that you will actually get the trademark for it.
I do have a couple of friends who do that. So if you want some referrals, make sure you private message me so I see it. But be careful with the online version because you get what you pay for, right? So if it's something really common, you might want to get some help with that. But you're going to be shelling out a good somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 probably to get it secured.
And there's a cost to each category that you want to register in.
Or each phrase too, because each phrase is different.
Yeah, and are you doing T-shirts and candy and mugs and
the type of and it could be either a logo and or a phrase. Those are two different things. So each one costs. It's ridiculous.
But it does offer you some protection. Now, let's say Dove soap didn't have to worry for years and years and years and years and years and years. I mean, not that they're worried now, but Dove candy is a much more recent product, so it could never be an issue for you.
Right.
There are some things that are stronger as a trademark, and others that are weaker. And it's like one of those it depends and gray murky oozes.
One of the things I think people it's kind of a myth or a mistake that they make when they're thinking about trademarking or copywriting. They think of the phrase, right? And then they look for the website online. They Google, let's just say it's Jumpstart Your Marketing that they want to trade. They'll go Jumpstart Your Marketing. And if they don't see an active website, they'll assume, oh, okay, I can use it then. Well, not necessarily. Just because you don't see a website built around the phrase of it or it doesn't come up on a search doesn't mean you can use it. So really be careful with that. I've had friends who've had to completely rebrand their entire business because when they launched, it probably triggered a Google alert for somebody who had that trademark, and then they got served with the cease and desist, and they've had to totally spend tens of thousands of dollars to rebrand everything. So do your homework, first of all. Yeah.
Right. And in the case with you and your attorney, certainly using the attorney was a good thing, but they became the correspondent.
Yeah.
And so that's why they got the email and you didn't.
That was
you do have to file continuation paperwork
right.
in the 9th year or whatever. So they don't last forever. Interestingly, copyright right now lasts for the life of the author or the creator or whatever, whoever owns the copyright, their life plus 70 years.
I was going to say, what happens when they die? So can we use their 70 years after the person?
Date. So that's one of the controversies about being able to create with what you're often creating, building on something that already exists, not in an infringing way, but so that's one of the problems, right? Well, some would consider a problem. Those who own rights like a long copyright. Those who are, say, in education or other fields, other creative fields, think that that's too long. Again, it was that balancing the rights of the creator and the good of the public.
So I have another question. And I'm thinking other people might too, is like, what about the quotes? We talked about memes, but what about quotes? Like other famous people's quotes, can we use those in however we want? I mean, if we just put the quote in a quote image and then their name afterwards, is that legal? I mean,
typically those are short enough that, yes, that's what can be done. And there are certain things that are not protected by copyright. Ideas, if you want to protect your idea, get it fixed. Facts, data, titles, short expressions. So there could be many books, and we know there are, with the exact same title. They don't have the same content, but they have the same title. And so that's not a copyright issue.
Right. Titles, and people ask this all the time because I help people publish books, is book titles can't be copyrighted or trademarked. So you can't trademark a title. So anybody could literally have, say, Love Yourself Successful as their book title. But if I had that trademarked, they wouldn't be able to market it. I don't think, because they wouldn't be able to put it on the website or write articles about it or anything like that. So you definitely, I still wouldn't necessarily write a book around a topic that's trademarked because you're going to have trouble when you go to market it, I think, right? You?
Yeah, and it's going to be confusing.
Yeah.
And the first author won't be pleased.
No.
Sometimes, you think for a half a second, oh, they liked my work. Oh, it's a compliment. And then you realize, whoa, wait a minute. Especially if they're making money.
Funny story. I had a friend of mine, actually, who was just like an acquaintance a long time ago, and now I know him better. But we'd done a call, I think, just to see what we each did. We both kind of did marketing stuff. And then one day I had a Google alert, right, around my name or whatever, and I found some stuff on his website. He had literally gone to my website and copied an entire sales page that I wrote, right, with my colors, my branding, my images, my wording and everything, and put it on his website for all to see. And he and didn't even change it and just stuck it there. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I'm like, so what's up? What do you like? I see my stuff on your site. I actually asked him about it. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's like, I meant to go in and change it and all that. And I just haven't had time yet. And I guess he didn't, he meant to use it as a guide, right? To write his own copy, but he just put it there and didn't change it. And it was totally visible, which is, I thought was weird. Why would you want talking about me on your website visible to the public, which is silly. So
right. You keep that down in the back until you
hide it, right? You hide it in the background while you're working on it or something, but you don't just go, hi, here's a sales page. And the links probably even went to my shopping cart, which was so funny. And I'm like, what? So don't do that.
And that can happen to small solopreneurs, and it can happen to huge companies.
True, because
somebody drops the ball.
Right, and we want to use, you want to model after other people. So you want to look at other people's sales copy and their wording on their websites, but definitely go and change it and make it yours, sure, and make it more authentic. So, awesome.
Yes.
Okay, well, gosh, there's so many more legal things we could cover too. Like, please make sure, just one of the biggest pet peeves I have, not a pet peeve, but something I see people still, when you're in business, or you start your own business, get your own business checking account, right? And make it official. Don't just be working half-ass in your business and still working from your personal checking account, your personal credit card. Get a personal checkbook and a business checkbook, right? And make sure you keep stuff separately, not only for your own sanity, but for write-offs and taxes and your bookkeeper and your accountant and all that kind of stuff. That's just one of the legal things that I think every small business owner should be making sure that you do. Is there any other fun little legal thing that you can think of that, Barb, that you see people doing all the time that they need to watch out for?
We talked about images. That's the big one. And sometimes people are so busy complying with various government regulations, and they don't think about copyright in that same light.
Right.
And it's important to have processes, procedures, best practices in place for how you use third-party content, how your staff uses third-party content, training, and also then how you, a permission process to get permission, but then also a process how you would give permission for someone to use your work, and how you're going to track and protect your gold mine. So it does work both ways. We think of ourselves as consumers of copyrighted material, but we're also creators. And we might think, oh, well, my stuff isn't valuable. You know, I'm not a famous author or a musician or famous photographer or whatever, but it's your intellectual property. And it's up to you to decide then, as we talked about earlier, it's up to you to decide how far you're going to pursue infringers and what you're going to put out there. I saw an interesting idea in an article, and I'll have to put the reference in the
All right, so I just put your website on the post. Tell us, though, besides just going to your website, what's the best, why does someone need to take this further? Because we've given some great tips today, and honestly, I know you run into this all the time. People think, okay, thanks for all the information, Barb. Talk to you later. I'll go do my own thing now on copyright, and I'm good. But they're really not. Why is there more to it? And why do they need someone like you to help walk them through some of the stuff that they need to do? Because they're not going to do it.
Right. There are, copyright is not yes or no. It's more often it depends. And so there's some general guidelines that we have talked about. But then sometimes the application takes a little more finessing. And so I have on my website, people can access, download a copy of the 10 biggest copyright mistakes anyone can make that could land you in court. And you know you don't want to land there. It takes time, it takes money, it takes you away from whatever it is you're doing.
So we know we want them to get the free report, but why should they come and actually take the next step and actually do a consult with you? Like what else are they going to get so that mean, what are they forgetting? What are they going to ignore? What are they going to miss?
I have a program called Guard Your Gold Mine.
Yeah.
And we work through all the steps that we need to go through. We look at websites, we look at images, we look at marketing material, we look at sources, we look at licenses, the terms and conditions on a website, the licenses that you might, of things you might be using, licenses that you want to give. So it's a program that you might have video, you might have audio, you might have, you've got
So
your
is
blog.
that one-on-one or is that a group thing?
That's one-on-one.
And so you're going to like walk through all their stuff one-on-one with them. How long does that take? Because some people are probably going, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I got to get some clients. So can you do it quickly within a day or two or a couple hours or
Well, it depends how much needs to be done.
Right.
And you can take pieces of it and take care of pieces.
Okay.
And work along those lines. There are certain things you can say, yeah, I got that in place, checked off. We'll go on to something else.
Got it. So you've got a checklist then that you go through with the clients, and then you make sure that they get the green light on every little area, and you spend more time on the ones where they're yellow or red, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay. And so I'm all about easy yes offers, and normally we don't make offers on these kinds of things. And who knows, somebody might be interested though. If they were to go to your website and want more than just your free report, Barb, then do you have an easy yes offer for, say, a one-time consult?
Yes, certainly I'm happy to have a complimentary conversation to identify your needs.
Really?
And in the back of this report, you'll see an offer for an audio and a consultation and a couple other pieces, and it is an amazing deal. It's $37.
Okay. All right. Well, that's too cheap. So you're going to raise your rates on that, right?
I am. But that's what's in print right now.
I know. Okay. So I'm going to help her change her print. So you better hurry up and run over there and get that deal, because we're going to change that offer to like 97 at least. So, all right, you guys.
That's what makes it an easy yes right now.
Right? Yeah. So you snooze, you lose on this recording if you don't take action now. Seriously, you guys, this is not all you need to know. You need to go just like you would hire a business coach or a web designer to fix your website, a virtual assistant to do your email marketing or social media. You need Barb to make sure all of this stuff is legal, so you're not going to be sued like me and have to pay thousands of dollars, which is annoying.
Well, as we said at the beginning, neither one of us is an attorney, but I've spent a lot of years in the gray, murky ooze. And law can be so specialized that you need to get the kind of attorney that specializes, and that's Sadi's brother-in-law who dabbles in something. So
yeah, don't go hiring a real estate lawyer to help you with your trademark, please, or your copyright. So
I will say, this is as much as I can do. I've advised you, and here's where you may want to consult a specialist.
Exactly, which she can help clean it up for you. All right, guys. Well, have a great day, everyone. Have a happy weekend, happy Friday, and go get more from Barbara at managecopyright.com.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.